What would you do if the person who held your career in their hands was also hiding a secret that could destroy both of your lives? Stay until the end because the twist that changed everything happened in the last place either of them expected, and trust me, you won't see it coming. If stories about love, redemption, and second chances move you, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a like because this one is going to stay with you long after it ends. Marcus Thompson wiped down the counter of the small coffee station in the corner of the executive floor, his calloused hands moving with practiced efficiency. At 34 years old, he had learned that dignity wasn't found in the job you did, but in how you did it. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as the last employees trickled out of Henderson Financial Group, their expensive shoes clicking against marble floors, their conversations about weekend plans fading into the elevator's descent. He glanced at the clock. 7:45. His daughter Lily would be finishing her homework right about now, probably sneaking glances at the television while Mrs. Patterson, their elderly neighbor, pretended not to notice. The thought made him smile despite the exhaustion that had settled into his bones like an old friend who'd overstayed their welcome. Marcus had been working as a janitor at Henderson Financial for 3 years now. Before that, he'd been a construction foreman with a promising future, a beautiful wife named Sarah, and dreams that seemed as solid as the buildings he helped create. Then the accident happened. A faulty scaffold, a fall that should have killed him, and 6 months of recovery that drained every penny they had. Sarah tried to stay. She really did. But watching her husband struggle to walk again, the medical bills piling up like autumn leaves, the dreams crumbling, it was too much. She left when Lily was 4, leaving behind a note that said she needed to find herself. Marcus found himself instead. Found himself in physical therapy, learning to walk without a limp. Found himself taking any job that would have him. Found himself becoming both mother and father to a little girl who asked why mommy didn't call anymore. The executive floor was empty now, or so he thought. He pushed his cleaning cart toward the corner office, the big one with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Victoria Henderson's office. The CEO's daughter and current chief operations officer, the woman everyone whispered about in hushed tones. Cold, they said. Calculating. Driven to the point of obsession. Marcus had cleaned her office for 3 years and had exchanged perhaps 20 words with her total. She was always working, always on the phone, always surrounded by people who wanted something from her. She barely noticed the man who emptied her trash and vacuumed her carpet. He knocked twice, as protocol required, and when no answer came, he pushed open the door. And found Victoria Henderson sitting on the floor behind her desk, mascara streaming down her face, a bottle of expensive whiskey half empty beside her, her perfectly tailored suit jacket discarded like a broken promise. For a moment, neither of them moved. Marcus stood frozen in the doorway, mop in hand, watching as this woman who commanded boardrooms and terrified executives looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes that held more pain than he'd seen since he looked in the mirror after Sarah left. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, backing away. "I didn't know anyone was still here. I'll come back." "Wait." Her voice cracked on the word. "Please." He hesitated. Every instinct told him to leave, to pretend he'd seen nothing, to protect his job and his ability to provide for Lily. But something in her voice, a rawness he recognized from his own darkest nights, made him stop. "Is everything okay, Ms. Henderson?" She laughed, but it was hollow, the kind of laugh that's really a sob in disguise. "Does it look like everything's okay?" Marcus looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in 3 years. Beneath the expensive clothes and the power and the reputation, he saw a woman drowning. He'd seen that look before. In Sarah's eyes before she left. In his own reflection during those months when he wondered if Lily would be better off without him. Against every rational thought in his head, he stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "No," he said quietly. "It doesn't." Victoria wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup further. "You should go. This is completely unprofessional. I'm your boss." Well, my father is, but... With respect, ma'am, you're not my boss right now. Right now, you're just someone having a really bad night. He grabbed the tissue box from her desk and set it beside her on the floor. I've had a few of those myself. She stared at him for a long moment, something shifting behind her eyes. You're the janitor. Marcus Thompson. I know your name. She took a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. I sign your paychecks. Then you know I can't afford to lose this job, Marcus said, settling into a chair across from her, not too close, not too familiar, but present. Which means I'm not going to tell anyone about this. Whatever this is. Victoria took a shaky breath. My daughter turned 16 today. Marcus waited. He'd learned that silence often invited more than questions. 16 years ago, I was 22. Fresh out of business school, trying to prove to my father that I deserved a place in his company. I was dating someone, a junior associate named Thomas. We were young and stupid and thought we had everything figured out. She took a swig from the bottle. When I found out I was pregnant, my father gave me a choice. My career or my child. He said he'd built this empire for his grandchildren, but not ones born out of wedlock to some ambitious nobody. Marcus felt his chest tighten. That's not a choice. That's an ultimatum. I chose my career. The words fell from her lips like stones. I gave her up for adoption. Private, closed. I convinced myself it was the right thing. That she'd have a better life with a family that wasn't as broken as mine. Victoria's voice broke completely. I found out today that her adoptive parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. She's been in the foster system ever since. My daughter, my baby girl, has been bouncing from home to home, and I had no idea. Marcus closed his eyes, thinking of Lily. Thinking of what it would mean to lose her, to know she was somewhere suffering while he lived in comfortable ignorance. What are you going to do? He asked. I don't know. Victoria looked at him with eyes that had lost all their corporate steel. I don't know how to be a mother. I don't know how to explain to a 16-year-old that I gave her away for a corner office. I don't know anything. Do you want to know her? The question hung in the air between them, simple and devastating. More than anything I've ever wanted in my life, Victoria whispered. Marcus nodded slowly. Then that's where you start. Over the following weeks, something unexpected developed. Marcus found himself staying late, finding excuses to clean the executive floor after hours. Victoria found herself working even later, leaving her door open, their conversations growing from minutes to hours. She told him about her childhood, a father who treated affection as a transaction, a mother who drank away her loneliness, a brother who died in a boating accident when she was 15. She told him about the pressure to be perfect, to never show weakness, to build walls so high that even she couldn't remember what she was protecting. He told her about Sarah, about the accident, about the nights he spent wondering if he'd ever be enough for Lily. He told her about learning to braid hair from YouTube videos, about burning pancakes every Sunday morning until Lily declared them perfectly crispy, about the terror of trying to explain puberty to his daughter because there was no one else to do it. They were two broken people finding sharp edges that somehow fit together. You make it sound easy, Victoria said one night, sitting across from him in her office, takeout containers scattered between them. Being a parent. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, Marcus admitted. And I've fallen off a scaffold from 4 stories up. But here's the thing, Lily doesn't need me to be perfect. She just needs me to show up. Every day. Even when I'm tired. Even when I'm scared. Even when I have no idea what I'm doing. Victoria absorbed his words like someone dying of thirst. I hired a private investigator. Her name is Emma. She's been through 6 foster homes in 3 years. The reports, her voice faltered. They're heartbreaking. She acts out because she's angry. She's angry because everyone she's ever loved has left her. She's ever loved has left her. Sounds like someone I know, Marcus said gently. Victoria met his eyes, and something electric passed between them. Something neither of them was prepared for. She stood abruptly, walking to the window, her back to him. This can't happen, Marcus. What can't happen? This. Whatever this is. You work for me. I'm about to upend my entire life trying to get custody of a daughter I abandoned. I can't, she pressed her palm against the cold glass. I can't add another complication. Marcus rose, keeping his distance. I understand. Do you? She turned, and there were tears in her eyes again, but different this time. Because I don't think you do. I think about you when I'm in meetings. I wonder what you'd say about the contracts I'm reviewing, the people I'm negotiating with. I find myself listening for your cleaning cart in the hallway. I haven't felt like this since. She stopped herself. I can't remember feeling like this. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. He'd felt it too, this unexpected connection with someone so different from him that it shouldn't make sense. But grief and loneliness and the desperate need to be understood didn't care about social hierarchy or job titles. I'm not asking for anything, he said carefully. Whatever you need me to be, I'll be that. What if I don't know what I need? Then I'll be here while you figure it out. 3 months later, Marcus stood outside a courthouse, adjusting his only suit, the same one he'd worn to Sarah's mother's funeral, the only formal occasion he'd had in years. Beside him, Victoria paced nervously, her usual corporate armor replaced by a soft blouse and slacks that made her look almost approachable. Today was the preliminary hearing for custody of Emma. What if she hates me? Victoria asked for the 100th time. What if she takes one look at me and sees exactly what I am, a woman who chose money over her own child? Marcus caught her hand, stopping her pacing. What you are is a woman who made an impossible choice when she was barely more than a child herself. What you are is someone who's spent the last 3 months fighting through red tape and legal battles and family court psychologists. What you are is someone who's terrified, which means you care. Victoria squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his steady presence. I don't deserve you. Probably not, he agreed with a slight smile. But Lily says I have terrible taste in friends, so here we are. Friends. Victoria's lips curved sadly. Is that what we are? Before Marcus could answer, the courthouse doors opened, and a social worker emerged with a teenage girl who looked so much like Victoria that it stole his breath. Same dark hair, same sharp cheekbones, same guarded eyes that suggested the world had already taught her to expect disappointment. Emma looked at Victoria with an expression that mixed curiosity, hope, and 16 years of abandonment. So you're her, Emma said. My birth mother. Victoria stepped forward on trembling legs. Yes. I'm Victoria. There's so much I want to say to you. So much I need to explain. Save it. Emma's voice was hard. I don't need your explanations. I don't need your guilt. What I need is a way out of the group home where I'm currently sleeping in a room with 5 other girls who steal my stuff. She looked at the courthouse. So let's get this over with. She brushed past them both, disappearing into the building, leaving Victoria staring after her with devastation written across her face. That went well, Victoria whispered. Marcus put his hand on her back. She's testing you. She needs to know you won't run when things get hard. How do you know? Because that's exactly what Lily did when Sarah left. For months, she pushed every button I had, waiting for me to leave too. Marcus met Victoria's eyes. You don't leave. No matter what she throws at you. You show up. Every single time. The custody process was brutal. Victoria's father, Harrison Henderson, fought her at every turn. He hired lawyers to argue she was unfit, too unstable, too focused on work, too absent from Emma's life for the past 16 years. He leaked stories to the press about her drinking, about her breakdown in the office. He threatened to remove her from the company if she continued pursuing custody. "He's trying to protect his legacy," Victoria said bitterly one night, sitting in Marcus's small apartment while Lily did homework in her room. "He doesn't want the world knowing that his daughter gave away his grandchild. It looks bad for the Henderson name." "What do you want?" Marcus asked, pouring her a cup of the cheap coffee that was all he could afford. "I want my daughter. I want to stop living a life that looks perfect from the outside but feels like a prison." She looked around his modest apartment, the second-hand furniture, the drawings Lily had done taped to the refrigerator, the warmth that money couldn't buy. "I want this." "You want cheap coffee and a 12-year-old's artwork?" "I want real. I want honest. I want," she set down her cup. "I want you, Marcus. I know it's complicated. I know I'm your boss and you're technically an employee and society would say this is inappropriate. But I'm so tired of making choices based on what society expects." Marcus felt the world tilt beneath him. He'd wanted to hear those words for months, had fantasized about them during long nights when loneliness felt like a physical weight. But he also knew reality in a way that Victoria, for all her intelligence, did not. "If we do this," he said slowly, "there's no going back. Your father will use it against you in the custody case. People will talk. They'll say you're slumming, that I'm using you for money, that this is some kind of scandal. Let them talk. Easy to say when you've always had money. I have a daughter to think about. A daughter who attends school with kids whose parents read the news. Kids who are just waiting for a reason to make fun of the janitor's daughter." Victoria's face fell. "I didn't think about that." "I know." Marcus reached across the small kitchen table and took her hand. "I'm not saying no. I'm saying we need to be careful. Smart. For Emma. For Lily. For us. Then we'll be careful." Victoria interlaced her fingers with his. "But I'm done pretending this isn't real." 6 months into the custody battle, everything fell apart. Harrison Henderson called Marcus into his office, the big one on the top floor, even more imposing than Victoria's. At 72, Harrison was still a formidable man, his silver hair and tailored suits doing little to soften the predator's gleam in his eyes. "Mr. Thompson," Harrison said, not bothering to stand or offer a handshake. "Do you know why you're here?" Marcus kept his face neutral. "I assume you're going to tell me." "I know about you and my daughter. The late nights. The dinners. The way she looks at you when she thinks no one is watching." Harrison leaned back in his leather chair. "It's pathetic, really. A woman of her caliber, reduced to sneaking around with the help." Marcus felt his jaw tighten but kept his voice level. "Is there something you want, Mr. Henderson?" "I want you to disappear. Leave this job. Leave this city. Leave my daughter's life." Harrison slid an envelope across the desk. "There's a check in there for $500,000. More money than you'd make in 20 years of mopping floors. Take it. Give your daughter a real life. And never speak to Victoria again." Marcus looked at the envelope but didn't touch it. "And if I refuse? Then I'll destroy you. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. I'll have Child Protective Services investigating your fitness as a parent. I'll make your life so difficult that you'll wish you'd taken the money." The threat hung in the air between them, ugly and real. Marcus thought about Lily. About the precarious balance of their life, one missed paycheck away from disaster, one medical emergency from ruin. He thought about how easy it would be to take the money and run, to tell himself he was doing it for his daughter. But then he thought about Victoria. About Emma. About the way his heart felt full for the first time since Sarah left. He pushed the envelope back across the desk. "You know what I've learned, Mr. Henderson. I've learned that money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy the look on my daughter's face when I keep a promise. It can't buy the feeling of being loved by someone who sees all your flaws and chooses you anyway. It can't buy a clear conscience. Marcus stood. Fire me if you want. Do your worst. But I'm not leaving Victoria, and I'm not taking your blood money. Harrison's face contorted with rage. You'll regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. Marcus walked out, knowing he'd probably just destroyed his career and quite possibly his life. Harrison made good on his threats. Marcus was terminated the next day, officially for budget restructuring, but everyone knew the truth. When he applied for other janitorial positions, mysterious phone calls would precede him, warning prospective employers about his character issues. His application for a small business loan to start his own cleaning company was inexplicably denied. Within 2 months, he and Lily were struggling to pay rent. He worked odd jobs, day labor, delivery driving, anything that paid cash, but it wasn't enough. Why can't you work at the big building anymore? Lily asked one night as they shared a dinner of rice and canned vegetables. Sometimes jobs end, sweetheart. It's not anyone's fault. But Lily was 12, not stupid. It's because of Miss Victoria, isn't it? The lady who came over for dinner. Marcus hesitated. He'd promised himself he'd never lie to Lily, not after the lies Sarah had told before leaving. It's complicated, honey. Grown-ups always say that when it's actually simple, but they think kids can't handle it. Lily pushed her rice around her plate. Do you love her? Marcus stopped, stunned by the directness of the question. Why do you ask? Because you smile different when you talk about her. The same way you used to smile about Mom. Lily looked up with eyes far too wise for her age. Is she going to leave us too? The question shattered something in Marcus's chest. He moved to sit beside his daughter, pulling her into a hug that she tolerated with the begrudging patience of a preteen. I don't know what's going to happen with Victoria, he said honestly. But I do know this, no one is ever going to take me away from you. You're my priority, Lily. Always. If being with Victoria means making your life harder, then. That's dumb, Dad. Marcus pulled back, startled. Excuse me? If SH.